quality of life. Mr. Scott will be along shortly, but until then, we don't have to vote on anything, so we don't need a quorum. Except what I'm going to do is take item number 2, comment, suggestions, petition by residents. We're going to hold that off until after Mr. Scott gets here. So what we'll do is start out with the monthly fire department report.
Oh, great. Thanks, Billy. One other thing of note, a energy study was conducted a few years ago by borough representatives of the firehouses. First, Westchester just finalized the replacement of all the indoor and outdoor lighting to LED, so we'll see a significant savings in the energy costs there. That's all I have. Quick, short and sweet for you.
That's good. Does anyone at the meeting have any questions or comments about the fire department report? Thank you.
All right.
So we'll move on to the monthly police department report with Chief Moorhead.
Good evening, Mr. Braceland. Jim Moorhead, Police Chief for the borough. For the month of July, the police department responded to 3,442 calls for service, of which 2,438 of those were in the borough. The remainder were East Bradford Township. Taking a look at our crime for the month, go to our all crime. That's probably another couple pages down. Probably one more slide. You can actually hold there. For our month of July crime, we're seeing normal call activity compared to 2019. Obviously, it's very difficult to measure 2020. Of note, the slide that's up currently is our Part 1 crime. Nothing remarkable in Part 1 crime other than I would like to point out assaultive behavior that's been occurring. This is something that the department does a lot of stationary patrols, does a lot of foot patrols, especially when bar activity is at its peak, and we're trying to step on this number by having a presence uptown. We go to the next slide. Of note, for the month of July, if you take a look at graph all the way to the left, our Part 2 crime, forgery and frauds for the month of July are up 235%. That's the look I had too, sir. So, and with that, we have seen an enormous spike in fraudulent activity on unemployment claims due to the pandemic. So people are using other person's names, date of birth, social security numbers, are using that to gain unemployment status, and they're having the unemployment check card, debit card, the financial stuff, they're having it shipped to another address, and then they're trying to use those funds illegally. Very, very difficult to track down. We've been working with neighboring partners. We've been working with the Attorney General's office. We're trying to keep very close to the intel coming in on this, but it has certainly caused our officers to take a lot more reports than typical in this area. So that is of note. Again, we see a continued rise in DUIs. This large in part due to the lack of Uber ride share activity uptown with the college not being in session. We're hoping to see some more come back as the university returns, but right now we just don't have that ride share activity uptown. So fortunately, some people are choosing to make bad choices and getting behind the wheel of a car. As far as crime goes, that's it. I would like to thank council, as I did last week with the hiring of 3 new police officers, much needed, as you know. Officer Brad Carabello, Officer Carrie Ann Christie, and Officer Jordan Turner are in their up training right now to get them ready to embark on their field training program. So they have 4 more days of in-house training before they're ready to get started on the street. So we're excited to get their careers started. And again, I can't thank council enough for the support. As you know, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We're still dealing with 2 persons who are out injured on duty. We have an officer deploying 10 months with the military and have an impending retirement. So we add those numbers up. Can't get these 3 officers through training fast enough, but it's going to take 12 to 14 weeks before they're able to actually be on their own through a rigid training program. And with that, I'd like to just conclude with the success of National Night Out, our Night Out Against Crime. Not for Dave March, who's our Chief Communications Officer and also our Public Information Officer. This would not have been the success that it was, held at Henderson High School last week on Tuesday evening. Dave and his crew did a tremendous job. There was a large presence from the Westchester Police Department, the Fire Department, Good Fellowship Ambulance, and also the Sheriff's Department. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention West Goshen Police Department. This is the first year that we actually partnered with them. So huge success, and much thanks to Dave March on that.
Just trying to think if I have any questions. Oh, about the fraud, is that generally, or is it specific to here, or?
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's not specific to Westchester.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Keep an eye on your mail.
All right. Okay. Unless there are any comments or questions on the chief's report, we'll go to item number 5, Good Fellowship report with Chief Brogan.
Good evening, Chaz Bergen, the chief from Good Fellowship Ambulance. 544 calls total for the month of July, 158 of which were in Westchester Borough. Overall, our call volume is still above 10%, higher than 2019. So we're definitely seeing a higher call volume than what we would have expected. As I mentioned in the past, summer is typically our slowdown, and we're not seeing that this year. So I think it kind of speaks to people getting back out and living their lives again. Nothing really outstanding on the rest of the report. I'll just mention our special operations units. Our rehab unit, which is used to essentially medically monitor first responders at large incident, was used 3 times last month. Most notably the house explosion in West Brandywine. We were out there for about 4 hours, making sure that first responders were safe. Also, our tactical paramedics were used at the barricaded incident that Chief Moorhead referred to last month. We have a group of specially trained paramedics that integrate into the police for police incidents to make sure they're safe. So we did use them last month as well. Other than that, really nothing else outstanding unless you have any questions for me.
I do not. This is fine. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments for Chief Brogan? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along. Item number 6, discuss resolution to create community campus coalition. Strike that. Let's go back to item number 2, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have anything? Okay. And we'll go to number 6, discuss resolution to create Community Campus Coalition as a committee of council.
Hi, it's Jordan Orley, and I'm also here with Julie Dietrich from the university. Can you?
Yes, good evening. I'm Julie Dietrich. I serve as the Executive Director for External Relations at Westchester University.
Thank you. Just a little preliminary. We talked about this couple months ago that we were working through some items to address potentially creating a community campus committee that would be a permanent committee, advisory committee to Borough Council instead of a former structure, which was an informal committee through the mayor's office. And we'll just get right into it here. A little history of the Campus Community Coalition. This would instead be the Campus Community Committee. 1986, there was a town gown committee that was formed, town gown. And then in 2006 to 2008, there was a university area neighborhood task force that was created in order to make recommendations to council and the community as to addressing some of the joint issues in the neighborhoods and the universities. Based on the results and recommendations of the University Area Neighborhood Task Force, the BUOG was formed in 2008. The BUOG is the Borough and University Officials Group, which is an informal group of borough officials and university officials to discuss areas of common interest. In 2009, the BUOG made a recommendation to start a community campus coalition to continue to address those sorts of issues that are best addressed in those sorts of settings. 2011, the town gown committee was officially retired. And in 2019, the CCC became inactive. And again, this was a informal committee under the mayor's office. And the result of that committee just becoming inactive because one person, the mayor at the time, chose not to have those relations anymore, certainly put a spotlight on the weakness of that sort of government formation for that. Next slide, please. Some of the past achievements of the CCC, there was annual, sometimes there's twice a year community engagement town halls where the public and students and officials would come and talk about what the CCC was doing, what Borough Council was doing, answer questions, and have an open forum to the public. The president of the university would come. The homecoming safety collaboration was an excellent outcome of the CCC, where the respective chiefs of the university and the borough would get together along with the other committee folks, or coalition folks rather, and collaborate efforts in order to achieve public safety as much as possible and mitigate the major issues that sometimes occur during homecoming sort of celebrations. The paid neighborhood town watch also was a result of came out of the CCC committee as a recommendation to Borough Council. That was a joint effort between the university and Borough Council. that was under contract. The security firm, Elps, was under contract with the borough, and it came cost-free to the borough, those services, as the University Foundation paid for the actual services. And that town watch would be an extra set of eyes and ears to call in any issues occurring in those neighborhoods of increased activity, I'd say, when university is in session. Community block parties were another result. I won't go into that too much. But, ways to integrate students with permanent residents and other renters, and have a feeling of community and togetherness and neighborhood, being neighbors. So that was another program. Marketing of alternative weekend events for students, essentially, events that were non-alcohol based, where you could get students hopefully to, or at least a portion of students to look at alternative events rather than some of the activities that happen, particularly in the Southeast during a session. Ramp certification was a big part of that. Carolyn Committ at the time was a huge proponent of the Responsible Alcohol Management Program, which is a certification for people that serve alcohol and restaurants, both individually as employees as well as an organizational certification to learn when it's appropriate to cut off an individual from over service. Also a excellent achievement. Cameras, there's some of the recommendations and fundraising for cameras came also out of the CCC. Slide, please. The purpose of the committee would be ensuring sustainability of community campus programs. The committee ensures the structure and leadership with collaborative programs between the university, borough, and other stakeholders like the Restaurant Association and Westchester Apartment Association. And we do have students who are starting to return already here. We're going to work kind of offline informally with some of the stakeholders because it's going to take some time to get the committee formed here. But this is a present need to have this permanent committee set up. The proposed mission is the Westchester Community Campus Committee will exist to actively promote and improve the health, safety, and quality of life for our community and our residents. Goals and benefits for the borough. Ongoing, consistent communication and partnership. Ongoing communication is essential. Continuation of the homecoming safety collaborations, co-developing public service announcements, and mutual messaging together. Centralization of community service projects. Adopt a block. These days, it's a good idea to have Adopt a Block and have other student organizations and such adopt a block, but that was in order to keep it clean on an ongoing basis. There is no centralization of those sorts of activities, and therefore a lot of those organizations, which with the nature of student turnover, are no longer really fulfilling the mission to adopt that block. Move in and move out days, help coordinate those activities that can be a bit chaotic. And clean, green, various sustainability initiatives, look at litter, those sorts of things. What we're looking at and proposing from a borough community member standpoint, the next slide is the university members, is prescribing the Westchester Borough Mayor, a police department, Westchester Police Department representative that will be appointed by the mayor in coordination with the chief. A public safety committee member of Borough Council, and 3 borough residents. Previously, there was 1 borough resident who was weak on that side. A borough resident from the 4th Ward, a borough resident from 2W, which are the most affected wards with the issues in the university, and also an at-large borough resident that could be, anywhere in the borough. A Westchester Apartment Housing Association member, property owners. It's important to coordinate efforts with them as well. And a Westchester Restaurant Association member, and then a Borough Codes Enforcement Officer are the suggested members. On the Westchester University side, and would you like to?
Everything from student affairs, civic engagement and social impact, external relations, fraternity sorority life, student government association, off-campus services, public safety, student conduct, and wellness and promotion. So we would have both staff and we wouldn't want too much overlap, but we certainly want to have sufficient student representation. And that's, I would feel remiss if I didn't mention in my being here that, as some of you may know, there's great student interest in establishment of the coalition as well. But those would be some of the represented offices.
Excellent. So it'd be approximately, and it'd be a big committee, but it'd essentially be 2 committees rolled up under the community campus committee, one with the borough related members and one with the Westchester University Borough related members. And slide, please, Bill. The next steps moving forward would be, and what the ask is tonight, is to pass the resolution, which then directs our solicitor, the borough solicitor, to create the authorizing ordinance that then would be, flushed out, see if we want any changes in that proposed ordinance from the solicitor, and then passing that formal ordinance, which would then create the permanent committee. And after that, there would be holding interviews from Borough Council interviews for any of the non-designated members. I say non-designated members, I mean Westchester mayor is the Westchester mayor, right? Non-designated would be like the residents and a member from the Restaurant Association as well as the Rental Association. And that concludes presentation. Questions?
I have one. I think I'll want to word it. First off, I think I like this idea. But as you were going along, I thought it's almost too all-encompassing. It's like, and I just wonder whether momentum would be there to maintain everything that you've presented, or whether it maybe needs to be pared down a little more. And I remember with the HUAG, it from my reaction to it, it didn't seem to have a strong community presence. I'm sorry. I know if I ask some of my neighbors, some of whom are up on things because I'm on council, kind of look at you like, what? So I'm just wondering whether, what would maintain the momentum of something this all-encompassing, and with students moving on from one year to the next, it would seem to me you would need to have a rotating group of students, okay? Yeah, I think you get where I'm going with that.
So to your first point, I mean, really this is mostly modeled primarily some enhancements here or there as to what this successful community campus coalition was previously. And it really was digestible at that time. So we would assume that it would continue to be that way. And I mean, the meetings would be monthly and they'd be prescribed by ordinance that they'd be monthly. And any of the members would be required to show up or at some point to ask somebody to step down and appoint somebody else. As to your very good observation as to the issues potentially with student members and the turnover, the idea from a governance standpoint with the university folks would be that those folks would actually be appointed directly from university leadership. So the ordinance would delegate authority to university leadership to have those appointments, make those appointments, and change those appointments at any time. I was remiss to say that. The only appointments that would be made for the borough would be of the borough member side of it.
Would that be university leadership or student leadership?
It would be university leadership.
Yeah, sure.
So, and I think your question is really why we're here. In other words, we want the structure, we want the sustainability of the collaboration, of the partnership. And so we are hoping that we are able to do this and that we can substantiate that, just that, right? That collaboration and that partnership. When it comes to the students, by way of having the university leadership help assign the who, for example, and that's why we indicated offices. So for example, the Office of Off-Campus and Commuter Services, they have ambassadors. So let's say one's assigned and graduates, then we would likewise, pull from those offices to have another student representative.
Would you have a role in this?
Yes.
What?
Well, my office in terms of external relations. And I mean, I clearly care greatly about our being able to do this. I think, and Jordan for mayor, we're really working to establish this again, because I think we need it sustainable. Because I think, and again, I think that's what you're asking, right? Because otherwise we have, and we purposely modified prior version of the Community Campus Coalition because it was alcohol focused. And we wanted it to, we were intentional about making it more broad. And in all fairness to the students too, those that want to be involved, and we want to make a better, more positive community for all of us. So I think, by establishing it as a committee, that will have that sustainable structure.
Do you think it'll work? No, you think it'll work. And I've dealt with you on a number of things, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, so this sounds all good to me. Refresh my recollection. Who got together to get us this far? Had we established an ad hoc advisory?
The initiative came from the mayor's office.
Oh, okay, that's good. So I want to thank you for putting in the history of all the attempts we had at doing this sort of thing, because when I saw it on the agenda, I said, yeah, we go through this every couple of years, and why bother doing any more? But you've very wisely and very well contemplated that problem, and that's why this is to be ongoing. With respect to past performance, what about RAMP? Is that still an ongoing program?
I don't believe there's current ongoing efforts to promote the responsible alcohol management program. trying to get all the liquor license establishments and their employees certified. I think that's been another victim of this committee essentially going away 2 years ago.
We actually, the ramp certifications in our ordinances required for all. So anybody has a cafe, we still require certifications of all those establishments.
Well, I thought it was a good effort that we were making, and it sounded very successful. I see this and I say, well, what happened to it? So whether or not it's to return will have to do with what the committee is a priority and that kind of thing. All right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it'll be an advisory committee to council, so the committee will make recommendations, much like the sustainability committee. Council will do as they will. There'll be outreach coming directly out of the committee as well, and advocacy. Yeah, Bill, you could bring that.
So we recommend the council adopt this resolution. That's what you want of us. Correct?
Yes.
Now, does this the membership on the committee, is that specified in there?
It is not. I mean, this is a general resolution, and you spoke with Mr. Perone about the mayor's office working directly with the solicitor in order to get down to all the kind of nitty gritty that we contemplated during the PowerPoint presentation. And then there'll be another opportunity to go through everything line by line and make any changes that Borough Council sees fit prior to the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, so this is kind of a, as you say, general resolution, and makeup of the committee will show up in the ordinance itself. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because some of those prescriptions for membership get a little crazy sometimes, and I think they deserve scrutiny. Other than that, thank you for doing all this, you and Dr. Dietrich. So I recommend it to council.
I just have one question. I know someone's got to bring it up. What would be the financial impact of this on borough finances? Do you have any? I know you can't give me a specific figure, but
Yeah, I mean, staff time primarily. I mean, there's a recommendation for, I mean, it wouldn't be additional staff time. It would be additional duty for staff, but they'd be doing this. So, you can make the argument that there'd be a financial impact from staff time for both the university staff as well as borough staff that were involved in any of the meetings. But there's no ask for any sort of financial, for a budget item with regards to the committee.
okay, thank you. This would be a 2-0. 2-0 recommendation to proceed with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, any comments or questions from people in the audience on this? Sir, come on up. Or is it just?
So, Ryan Travis, 304 South Walnut Street. I'm in one of the areas 2W that were mentioned on slides up here. I've lived in that residence for almost 4 years, and I've seen the deterioration of what it feels like the quality of life is in my area. Feeling a lot of that has to do with the lack of communication and education on behalf of both the borough and we cannot ignore the large footprint of the university in those neighborhoods. So I wanted to go on record to say I show strong support. This plan, it's well thought out. It has what I feel are the right people involved. And I look forward to seeing this resolution get passed.
Could join them. Okay, ma'am, come on up. Give us your name and your street address.
Erin Travis, 304 South Walnut, also married to the previous speaker. I also rise in support of this plan. It is well thought out. I'm also a professor at Westchester University, and I'm in the unique spot of professor and resident. There are several, what I like to call loopholes that currently exist that need to be closed. Like, for example, national fraternities don't own the houses, so the national fraternity won't get involved. And if the university doesn't own the house, then they can't get involved. And my point is not to nitpick, but rather we need a group that advocates for us, for our well-being. I'm interested in this coming together. I have some thoughts about, how will this group deal with enforcement issues? I'd also like to know more information about the students involved. I love the Rambassadors. They're great. I love the Abbey Society and the Honor Society, but I'd like to see some real involvement from the Greek system, from some of the sports teams. And there's also a group called Students who advocate for renters in town, so I think that would be good too. But I fully trust the people working on it. I know they'll do a great job, pull it together, full support.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
Mark McIntosh. I'm on South Walnut Street. Been there about 13 years, and so I've seen a lot of these different efforts over the years. I just wanted to comment that they do make a difference. Things over the years have, gone in peaks and troughs and things come and go, but overall it has been a positive trajectory. I think there's a distance yet that we could go. And you have the universities in the state and one of the major downtown urban areas literally right next to and on top of each other. So why wouldn't you want to have the structure and coordination for the two bodies to get together, especially somebody passionate from the university and somebody passionate from the borough who can help sustain and keep that structure in place. So we'll see what comes out of them, but past things from this type of things have made a difference over time. So I wanted to thank you for listening to it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hello there. My name is Dawn, and I'm a resident on Spruce Alley in the Westchester Borough. Thank you so much, guys, for having this opportunity for us to speak in regards to what is being proposed here this evening. I'm definitely for this proposal as far as putting some things in place. Ultimately, we all want a community where all of us can thrive. The kids can have their opportunity to be college kids, but families need a chance to be families as well. So I'm in full support of this proposal. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Jim, come on up.
Evening.
Go ahead, Jim. Hi.
Jim Sargent, 321 South Street. I will just add, without being redundant, that one of the most important aspects of this is to have a channel of communication. I think residents do, from time to time, have frustration with activities on their streets or bad behavior. It's important to have a way of communicating that in a productive manner to the right organization so that concerns get heard by the right parties from the borough and the university. So I think this is a real step forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any comments? Still a 2-0?
The leadership of the university has been good since I've been involved, 25 years now. And it's particularly good at this time. I think President Fiorentino is very open to positive things like this, not just in town-gown relationships, but otherwise. And so that has a lot to do with it. So we should take advantage of that while they want to cooperate with us and we want to cooperate with them and Dr. Julie Dietrich is the point person here, and it's all good. I just wanted to throw a bone to the university. Thank you, WCU.
Okay, so we have a reaffirmation of the 2-0. Okay. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you. Last item on the agenda is the minutes from last month. They appeared to be okay to me,
Okay to me.
2-0. Item number 8, any other business? I have one quick item. And I think, speaking to the chief, I think you know this already, but there has been a group of teenagers with their bikes that have been kind of terrorizing the uptown. A woman I know very well, her son, regardless of the circumstances, was hit and knocked unconscious. But I've seen these guys many times. I've tried following them, but if you're on a bike, you can go faster than a car. So I could only follow them so far. And a lot of police officers, so technically I shouldn't be doing that. But I've seen them in East Bradford. They go up and down the street. They pay no attention to the traffic lights, stop signs, people on the street. They go right down the middle of the street doing wheelies. Last year, I was on Gay Street, on the right lane, coming up the High Street, and I could see, I was on the motorcycle, and I could see these guys coming up, and if they go fast. And I was moving probably 15 miles an hour, and these guys came up, cut right in front of me. Now, if I didn't have anti-lock brakes on my bike, somebody would have been hurt. Maybe me. So I'm just, if there's something we can do to just kind of nail these guys somehow, or just, or just have a discussion with them. Because I've gotten a number of complaints about it, and I've seen it a number of times that it's crazy with the stuff they're doing. I know I can recognize one of them. Just back of the head sort of thing.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman,
cool. Yes.
the bicycles, are they on the sidewalks or are they on the street?
Everywhere. Wherever they feel like being.
May I ask the chief, what violation would they be up for? What's the technical violation that he's complaining about?
Sure. Mr. Scott, there's a number of bicycle laws that we are currently and have been enforcing. It's been part of Operation Quiet Down Town. We've been up there not only enforcing loud mufflers, but our officers have been engaging the youth on the bicycles. There's been a number of citations already issued, but to Mr. Braceland's point, we need to keep the pressure up and have an increased presence. So we're working on it.
What is the nomenclature? What's the title of the violation that you write him up for?
Yeah, so it's all part of the motor vehicle code, operating a pedicycle, and we have all kinds of different laws in the books, from having a headlamp at night to how they conduct themselves in traffic to how they yield to oncoming vehicles and
Okay.
weaving in and out of the lane.
Thank you very much. Unless there's anything further, is there? Adjourned. Thank you.